Sometimes, through no fault of your own, you injure yourself when you're doing home repairs. And today that happened to me. I don't know how it happened. I'm not even sure when it happened. I have a blood blister. And Donna's not here. She's out of town. Which means I have nobody to feel bad for me or to help me with the medical needs here. This could need a stitch for all I know. I'm very afraid.
You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars.
Okay, so this week's trivia question: why is this called a headache rack? Why is this called a headache rack? That's the trivia question. Leave your answer down below and watch till the end of the video and I will answer your question for you. So what we are looking at here is the Furrion Vision S camera system. I purchased one of the cameras by itself thinking I could pair it with my older generation Furrion monitor, and I was unable to do that. So I ultimately bought another camera and monitor bundle so that I could pair both cameras with the same monitor. One of the cameras is going to go on the headache rack on the back of the Ford truck. The other camera will replace the older generation camera on the back of the RV. Those curvy looking shark fin covers, which is what Furrion calls them, they call them the shark fin mount. Those curvy portions actually are separate from the actual camera itself. The idea is that I'll take one of the cameras off of that shark fin mount and place it on the shark fin mount that is on the RV already, that was mounted there from the dealership when I purchased the rig. Ultimately, I will have two cameras that match up with my monitor. I'm very pleased with that. The other two items that are there that are black items are the mounts for the monitor. One is called a shelf mount, and that can sit on a bookshelf if you're using a door camera to look at outside the door of your rig when you're parked. The other mount is a suction cup window mount, which is probably what I will use for my monitor inside the truck. I will mount it to the windshield right under my rear view mirror. So that whole package right there is the Furrion package that I will be installing. The next step in this process is to pair the cameras. So the way you do that is you plug in the system to your jack inside the vehicle and you marry or you pair the cameras to the monitor. So here I am showing you how I've hooked up the cabling to the cigarette lighter socket, and I'm showing you the jack here that you will plug into. You'll plug each camera in and then you'll pair it with the monitor. Okay, so here's my monitor and my hand's gonna come right into the shot, but I want to show you that if I push the menu button I can go to pairing, and it's a touch screen. So I'm gonna hit pairing and it wants to know if it's my door cam, my left cam, my right cam, or my rear cam. And so I'm gonna call, sorry about that, I'm gonna call the camera that goes on the headache rack, I'm gonna call it the door cam just so I can differentiate. And now on the camera itself there is a pairing button right there. I don't know if you can see it. So I push on that, stand by. Now I'm pushing on it and we'll see if it pairs up the way it's supposed to. So let's see what happens here. Okay, it's telling me it failed. So let me see what else I can do here. So now I'm calling it a rear camera because maybe it only recognizes it as a true rear camera. I don't know. and it's telling me that it has paired. Okay, so here I've got the monitor mounted to my windshield. I've got the camera plugged into the cigarette lighter. It's getting its power. And now I am going to go about pairing the monitor and the camera. The camera's on. You can see the little blue light because it is plugged in to the cigarette lighter. Okay, so now it's working. I got it hooked back up. I had to go get a different cable for it, the one that came with it. I was trying to use my old cable, my previous cable from the other monitor. They're all set up the same way. It should have worked. There might be a broken wire within the cable. Anyway, I've plugged in the new one and now it's working after I did a whole bunch of research to try to figure out what fuse and where it was located. So anyway, I got to put my fuse box back together under the hood because I got the lid off of it still. I'll do that and then I'll come out and pair up the other camera. I've already paired up one. I think you kind of saw me do that, so stand by. There's the owner's manual. It was fuse number 62 if I would have needed to replace it, but I did not need to replace it. So let me put this lid back on. I don't know if you can see this. That's the fuse box right there. That's the fuse box. And as you can see, it's got that little tab over that goes over to the side, and that actually covers the connectors that run from the battery into the fuse box. They're protected by that little plate right there. So when you go to pull the fuse box out, that plate runs into this cabling right here, and it makes it a little bit of a challenge to get it out of there. But here's the other part of it, is that comes off. This comes off. So when I took it out, I didn't take this off, and I had to finagle it to get it out of there. Trying to put it back in and get it seated properly was a nightmare until I realized that these little tabbies right here and here, if you squeeze those, they pop off and this whole little plate pops off and gets out of your way, and you put your lid back on, and then you put this part back on. Anyway, it's an engineering marvel, folks, an engineering marvel how Ford put this together. Actually, it makes a lot of sense when you stop and think about it. I didn't stop and think about it, and so there was a whole lot of swearing going on. So apparently it knows that the shark fin cameras are a rear camera of some kind. They have to be a different style because the left and right camera would somehow be very low profile. It would go with a mirror or something on your vehicle, and a door camera would probably have a low profile as well, whereas a rear camera is going to be out in the elements all the time. And anyway, so for whatever reason, it knows, and what I am hoping is that as I flip my switches and I turn on the lights for the RV camera comes on, and as I turn on the lights for the other one, for the headache rack, looking down into my bed, then it knows to turn that camera on as well. It's my understanding that it will do split screen. I don't know if it does that automatically, so there will be more to report for you, but for right now, I feel good that both cameras are paired. That was my goal. Okay, so I have an update. The rear camera that I just paired, remember I said that it came in the box with the one camera and that camera was already paired? That was true. When I paired up the other camera as the rear camera, it knocked the other camera out. Not a problem, luckily. I was wrong about the door cameras and the right and left camera when I said they were probably different styles and it probably wouldn't pair. A rear camera probably wouldn't pair as a door camera. I was wrong. So I have now paired up one camera as a door camera, one camera as a rear camera. I'll put the rear camera on my headache rack because I'll be using it the most and rear will make the most sense to me. I'll put the door camera, which is usually used at the entrance door to your RV, and I'm going to use it on my back of my RV trailer, the back of my fifth wheel, and that's going to be my camera when I'm trying to back into a spot or otherwise. If it truly does a split screen, all the better. So let's see what happens when I get it set up. Okay, I'm standing out here right now with the RV. I'm going to head up that ladder, pull that old camera off. I have the new camera in my pocket. I'll install that while I'm up there. I'm hoping that it can just plug into the jack, as I mentioned before. We'll see what happens. I'll know a lot more when I get up there, and I'll be right back with you. So success. That's the old camera, and as you can see, it's plugged into the connector that I was worried about. I was worried that they had hardwired it or something. So I'll be pulling that off, and then I'll plug in my new one and throw it up in there. So here you see the new camera. It fit right into place, right into that shark fin mount that I was hoping would fit exact, and it did. So basically what that means is when Furrion changed these cameras and they went to the Vision S profile, they kept the whole mounting piece the same so that it would fit in a earlier generation shark fin. Real happy about this because basically I was able to connect it at the jack, stuff the jack back up inside there, and then mount the camera. That's what I was hoping I would be able to do, and ultimately that's what I was able to do. Okay, don't be alarmed. I'm in the car now and I'm on my way to get the self-tapping screws to mount the shark fin cover. You know, here's kind of the interesting part too about this. Is I'm not that good with this stuff. I'm really not. I mean, there's some logic to it, and if you try to follow the logic, usually you'll come out okay. But my attitude is I would rather try, and then if I can't make it happen, or if I mess something up, and hopefully I don't mess it up that bad, then it's worth paying to get it installed at that point, or it's worth paying to fix something that I messed up a little bit. I don't take big risks that way, but little ones I do. And my attitude is I would rather try to install it. It can save you a lot of money if you install stuff yourself, especially on an RV. So that's kind of my outlook on it for what it's worth. I'm going to give this a try. I can't tell you that I'll be successful, but I'm going to give it a shot. So I got me some number 6 self-tapping stainless steel screws, 3/4 inch long. This should go through the shark fin bracket and then into my headache rack on the back of my truck. Mission so far accomplished. So look at this. This is a close-up photo of my bed lights in my truck. Both of those are seated inside of a big rubber gasket, and they literally just pry out of there. I took it apart and I found the wiring harness behind there, and I apologize, I have no photos or video of this part, but what I did was I cut through the wiring and I spliced in my wiring for my backup camera. On one end it had raw wires, and on the other end it had the receiver jack for the camera itself. So I wired that all into my bed light wiring harness, and now when I turn on my bed lights, the camera will come on too. It gets its power. I have an upfitter switch inside the cab that I can turn on, and that will activate that camera. It's a sweet little setup, but as you'll see in a moment, it wasn't as easy to get this all installed as I was hoping. Not always good at this, right? I have now wired it in. You can see the wire out there on the headache rack, probably streaming down. I basically pulled out the bed light from its rubber socket and patched in the wire into it, and I've tested everything. Everything's working. Camera's working. Bed light is still working. So my next step is to cut the holes, and hopefully I will do a better job of taking those photos or video for you so you can see what I'm doing. Sorry about that. I've drilled my center hole, which is where the jack comes out of. And now these little holes, I'm going to drill pilot holes. I have self-tapping screws to actually mount the camera, but I'm going to drill pilot holes first just to make sure I get it right. Okay, so I'm taking a break. It's very hot out there. It's well over 100, and I needed to recharge the battery on my drill. So I came in, and now I'm sitting down and I'm taking a break. I am getting into the procedure where I'm mounting the camera onto the headache rail. I'm very pleased so far. Everything's going smoothly. The camera works. It's all wired in. It's really just a matter of drilling some pilot holes and putting some screws in it, and it'll be good to go. Okay, so on my way back to Lowe's, bought the wrong screws. I got number 6 stainless steel screws. I needed to get self-tappers. I was trying to make them work and the heads just kept breaking off, even with pilot holes. So, you know, stuff happens. See you soon. So the camera is now mounted, although it's only in with 1 screw so far over here. I'm going to put the other 3 screws in. I'm going to hide this wiring up under here, and then I'm complete. It's all working, it's all wired, it's ready to go, and I'm very pleased so far. Okay, so check that out. The camera is mounted, it is working, I am happy. Got the self-tapping screws in it, that's all it took, and it's all wired up. It works with my bed lights, which is what I wanted. The brother or the sister to this camera is on the RV, and it's wired up and it's working, so we are good to go. Okay, so the answer to this week's trivia question is a headache rack is a rack that goes behind the cab of a truck. Usually it's an 18-wheeler, it's a big over-the-road rig, and it protects the driver in case the load shifts and tries to come into the cab with them. In my case, I doubt I'll ever have that kind of danger, but I do tow a 5th wheel behind me if something were to happen and the kingpin were to break or give way. I guess it could come up and try to come into the cab, and that rack is designed to help avoid that. Hey, if you like what you see and you like this video and all of our videos, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to us if you would, and feel free to share at your convenience. Thank you. We hope you enjoyed the video. Have a nice day.